Okay. So the room is starting to fill up. We're going to give folks a few more minutes to get in here before we get started. If you want to, while we're waiting, if you want to drop into the chat who you are, where you're from, be great. We can all kind of get acquainted, and then we'll get started. Hey, Joel from Minneapolis. Thank you for coming. Hey, Candace. I'm seeing a lot of current clients. It's awesome to see you all, as well as a lot of new names. I'm looking forward to showing you what we've got. Hey, Susan, great to meet you. From Kentucky. We're in Kentucky, Susan. Love that state. So pretty. Oh, Bowling Green. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, we are about 2 minutes in, so we should go ahead and get started. In case you're unaware of what this webinar is, let me just tell you that email isn't actually dead, even though you've been told over and over again. It's alive, kicking and beating most other marketing channels, hands down. Today, I'm going to show you how many of our clients, enterprise clients, are finding awesome results with marketing. You'll walk away with strategies you can use to start to implement within your organization to drive core metrics like enhanced click-through rate and reduce CAC, resulting in the magic word revenue. I'm Isaac Ferreira. I lead growth strategy here at Shift, and I've spent the last 25 years helping public and private organizations as employee and consultant find and execute paths to growth that include proper combination of strategy, tactics, people, process, and technology. But before we jump in, let me tell you a little bit about Shift. So a lot of you know us, our current clients, so I'm not telling you anything new, but for those of you who don't, Shift is a growth services company serving enterprise marketing and sales organizations. We took the best parts of marketing, sales, growth, consulting, combined it with the best parts of technology integration, added in some design and development, and now what we provide is an end-to-end service that helps you grow from strategy all the way through execution and optimization. So in the chat, we also have several thinkers and doers from Shift. We like to say that we're the perfect combination of thinkers and doers. They're going to be answering your questions as we go, just to make sure that I can focus on this presentation, because I got to tell you, it's a lot of really good content. Got to make sure we get through all of it, and hopefully at the end we have time to answer your questions live. So it all started back in 2010, or that's what I'm going to say because it fits my narrative. So in 2010, Avatar had just been released, one of my favorite movies, and Lady Gaga wore a meat suit to the VMAs. I'm not going to say a whole lot more about that. The first iPad was released, which just makes me feel incredibly old, which is good and bad, I guess. And Instagram came out. The place where your half-eaten croissant can build a bigger personal brand than Fortune 500 CEOs was born in 2010. You know what else happened in 2010? Mark Zuckerberg said, "We don't think a modern messaging system is going to be email." Meanwhile, between 2010 and 2025, average cost per click went from less than 50 cents to $1.20, an ROI of 2x to 5x. But you're going to see why that doesn't even compare when talking about email. Jim Lundy of Argonne Research said email is dead, long live team collaboration in 2022. Forgetting the fact that people need both synchronous Slack-type collaboration and async, meaning I have to sleep sometimes, I'm not working sometimes, so send me a message and I'll get it tomorrow. Alon Rosenberg, the CEO of Knock, said just this year on his personal LinkedIn account that email is on his deathbed and the killer user behavior powered by AI. Evidently, both of them think, Alon and Jim think, that we're not supposed to sleep. So I'm going to blame them for my lack of beauty rest. There are a couple of people that think it's going to work, and they've talked about it quite publicly. But Stuart Butterfield is another one of those people who think email is dying. He created and sold Flickr and Slack, if you don't know the name. He said email will be the cockroach of the internet. We'll still be living with it for the next 30 to 40 years. Essentially, he doesn't like it, but it's going to be around. And I tend to agree with him. It's going to be around, but contrary to his belief that it's cockroach, I think it's one of the highest ROI converting tools you have in your marketing toolbox right now. So we got a poll going right now, and it looks like some of you have already answered. But if you don't, let me know how many times you've checked email before 10 a.m. today. Okay, we're getting a lot of responses actually. It's looking like between 3 to 5 or 9+ times. So just based on that, email absolutely isn't dead. Some of you have checked it 9 times, 10 times this morning before you haven't even come to here. But why are people checking their email so much, and why is email so valuable? Why is it not dead? Because it converts at 44 to 1. There's some reports that say 36 to 1, other reports that say 44 to 1. It's somewhere in between there when done properly. But there is not a single other marketing channel out there right now that can get you a 44 to 1 return. Crap, there's not many investments that you could ever hope to find that give you a 44 to 1 return. But for every dollar you spend, you can make $44 when executing email properly. So then the question is, why aren't we seeing these types of returns? What are the challenges that are affecting our email program? There's 6 primary challenges. We're going to go through each one and give you some examples on how to deal with it. The first one is spray and pray, and it's kind of self-explanatory. So self-explanatory, we just created one slide with a spray can on it because we're creative like that. But spray and pray is pretty simple to understand. You send out an email to a list of people without having done any kind of form of segmentation or demographic separation or identified intent signals. And what happens is all these folks receive these emails from you, and every time they open an email that is irrelevant, they're like, I'm probably not going to open that next one. Or I'm sick of getting these irrelevant emails. I'm going to unsubscribe. Or worse yet, they click the spam button and send you to spam. So it's really, really important that when you're sending emails to contacts, clients, customers, etc., that they're relevant and segmented. But that's not really the only thing. It's also really, really important that you start to adopt this idea of moment-based segmentation. So Google has a really cool framework called the I want to framework, and it's got 4 different items in it. It's I want to know moment, it's an I want to go moment, it's an I want to be moment, and I want to buy moment. So how do you use this in your email campaigns? Let's just use the first one as an example, the I want to know moment. So a known user has just went to your website and they're doing a search within product documentation. It's pretty clear it's an I want to know moment, right? But you also have this information that this user or this person, this known person, purchased something from you before. So now you have this opportunity to send a near instantaneous email to them saying, hey, I know you looked at Who's He What's It XXXX and you bought one recently. Seems like you might have some questions. Click here to talk to Cheryl and she'll get them answered for you right away. So now you've got this amazing customer experience triggered by an event, an interaction with this person. And you've also got an upsell opportunity, right? Because what if what he's looking for is that he didn't buy an extra belt for his vacuum. Now you can sell him that belt. Or you can offer him a service plan or any number of things, right? So relevance equals interaction equals additional revenue. So if you look at conversions, when you have tools like Braze that work really heavily in taking your data and being able to create journeys that are based on a lot of those triggers, you can achieve up to 6 times conversion rates just because you're creating something that's relevant at the time to the person and for the topic that they're looking at. There's lots of tools out there when we work with kind of all of them. But if you look at the big players like Braze and Marketo and Salesforce, these tools all have some capability to pull in data from multiple sources, these trigger sources, and create a journey that gathers these kind of workflows. And a lot of times we fall into the trap of just creating a triggered workflow. Someone opened the email, next email. Someone opened this email, next email. When in truth, we have this opportunity to take signals from all over our environment, from our website, from our app, from phone calls to service, from subscriptions, from lack of subscriptions, from you name it, there's signals everywhere. And those signals are fuel for the conversion fire. We built something like that for LIMU, for Liberty Mutual. I'll get it right one day, which took all these signals and created workflows that helped to drive this kind of interaction. And the result of this was was two primary flows. The left was just a segmentation-based email that identified drivers of Subaru vehicles from publicly available information for a joint campaign with the EMU. And then the other one was a triggered one. Whenever anyone would search on the internet, we can pull in third-party signals. We'd send them that as a campaign also for Subaru if they're a Subaru driver, recognizing that they just search for insurance and helping to get ourselves in contention for that insurance dollar, for that insurance recognition. So very, very important that we not spray and pray. I know this is kind of basic to a lot of folks. What's not so basic is the ways in which you can create opportunities for engagement, opportunities to take advantage of those moments via triggered data. So the next reason is poor inbox deliverability. And I promise you, we'll get into the stuff that's a little bit more interesting very, very soon. But we've got to go through the basics first, just in case we have folks on the phone that haven't been through it. So inbox deliverability is huge because, right now, on average, across the US, average inbox placement is like 83%. So that means that 1 out of every 6 emails doesn't actually land in an email inbox. So it's just wasted time, effort, money, and potentially hitting your sender score negatively. There's lots of reasons for it. But one of the biggest reasons for it is if you don't have authentication set up properly on your DNS. If you don't know what DKIM and SPF are, this graphic kind of explains how it works. But in layman's term, SPF tells the world who can send from your domain on your behalf, and DKIM proves that the message hasn't been forged, right? So they're allowed to send to me. It's an authentic message. Without those two things, email servers tend to send a lot of this stuff to spam or block it altogether. If you're trying to talk to healthcare, finance, government, and these aren't configured properly, you're never getting through to an inbox. And by the way, there's a lot of different email services like Google that are tightening the screws here also. So it's worth checking on. The way you need to work through deliverability is to check for deliverability issues by doing an inbox audit. So that inbox audit requires you to perform a comprehensive audit of your deliverability, meaning there's lots of ways to do it. But go and look at how many emails are actually ending up in the inbox. Look at how many emails are being bounced and remove those from your list if you can. Implement an IP warming plan to make sure that these servers don't think that, or these email services don't think that you just started up a spam shop and you're sending out 500 emails after never existing the day before. They will blacklist you and you won't get through. Conduct a current email metrics analysis. Map your existing customer communications to make sure they're relevant, they're on time, make sure they're being opened, that they're not bouncing, etc. And then review the email content design for spam triggers to make sure that you don't have anything accidentally in there that's triggering spam to think that you're trying to push insurance from Africa. The next thing is static content. So I think we've all fallen prey to this. In fact, 90% of our emails that go out are static. Sometimes they're just communication emails. Sometimes they're just programmatic emails. Hey, thanks for buying this. But when we're talking about actually getting interaction, getting click-through rate, one of the most powerful tools in your toolbox is to make the email interactive. And this is one area where email is changing. It's not dying. It's in metamorphosis. If you look at this looks like it could be an app, right? It's got movable sliders. It's got counters counting up and down. It's got graphs. It's got charts. It's moving and it's engaging and it's interactive. This is actually an email. And it's email that we built for a client that actually looks like an app. So there's 80 apps on the average smartphone right now. 9 of them actually get used, but it gets used every single day. Email. Every day, all of us use it. So why don't we make our email start to perform like apps and get kind of the same interactivity, and usage that an app gets? Now, this is something we do now for some of our largest clients. And it's resulted, you're going to see the results later on, but it's resulted in some pretty outsized click-through rates. All right, next one here is it's impersonal. This is pretty basic. I think we've all been told over and over and over again that you're going to get massive returns if you do personalization. But when people talk about personalization, I think the conversation kind of stops at, I put the first name, last name, and company name in. While that is personal, and it's true that you know their name, I think that's more of a baseline than it is a true personalization that's going to get you outsized returns. Personalization is now turning more into, do I understand what it is that you're looking for at this moment in time, what it is that you need this moment in time, what is the moment, and then delivering that content to you rapidly. In fact, sub-tenth of a second response rates, real-time personalization, tend to drive about 40% more revenue, especially when you talk about B2C, but can also be for B2B. What do we mean by real-time personalization? Let's just say, well, you know, I'll cover that in a second. Let's talk about how you set up this predictive real-time personalization. There's 3 steps, 3 big steps. Looks simple here, but it's actually pretty challenging. And for those of you that do it on a day-to-day in these large enterprises, you know what I'm talking about. First thing you have to do is understand what these signals are and capture them. So I have to be able to pull in data from my website, from user data. I have to be able to pull in data from my CRM for service data. I have to be able to pull in data maybe for the CRM from sales. I need to be able to pull in data from my app for what users are using and what they're searching for. Pull in data from the web, pull in data from social. You get the point. You've got to be able to capture all this data in order to use it as a signal, right? So that's the very first step, is capturing it. And then once you've captured it, you got to be able to predict what the customer needs. What kind of moment is it? Is it I want to know moment, I want to be moment, I want to buy moment, etc. Predict what that next outbound should be. Usually that's with an engine of some kind. Some of these are built into marketing automation platforms. Think Einstein or within Braze. And some of these are custom built just to support your company. It really depends on the application. The last step is to render it. And by render it, I mean, how do I get it into an email at a time when it makes sense for your reader, your customer, your client, to be able to view it? Those rendering engines, there's some that are off the shelf. We'll talk about one in a second. There's others that are custom, which we have also built. But in either event, that real-time personalization results in some outsized gains. So we have a global credit card member, travel service that we work with. And the challenge for them was that they were sending kind of non-segmented, one-size-fits-all emails out to their entire email base, sign-up base. So what we did is we create opportunities for one-to-one personalization of these messages based on the stage in the journey, based on the moment, and we were able to get some pretty outsized gains. So 62% lift in overall engagement, a 44% lift in click-through rates, which is pretty massive. Big lift in open rates, which was mostly due to title changes, personalization, and titling. But then on top of that, we got a 10x increase in revenue. So it went from one size fits all to a million reader base to personalization, some real-time personalization, and got 10x increase in bookings. That's the power of doing this effectively. So the next challenge here is that it's boring. And as boring as I'm trying not to be, our emails, all of us have emails that are even more boring. So how do we spice up our emails? How do we make them engaging and interesting? How do we help folks understand that it's worth interacting with us? It's worth opening our email. It's worth clicking through the email. Well, part of that is creating immersive emails. And when we say immersive emails, it means that there's things on the screen that relate to the subject matter that are moving, that are enticing action. One great example here is J.Crew. J.Crew has this popsicle in the background talking about their summer sale, which is great, and the popsicle being eaten. And it kind of demands interaction. What's going to be on the next screen if they're doing this for me in email, right? There's a lot of companies that do this. I mean, if you look at Headspace, which is one of my favorite apps, honestly, I think this is one of those ones that gets used every day for me. It shows someone using Headspace in a tent camping while it's raining, but they're totally calm because they're meditating while they're out there camping. Tons of interaction driven off of things like this. You look at Feel Unique. They were releasing an app. That app was going to allow people to actually try on makeup inside the app by taking a picture of their face and figure out what looked best on them. So the way they illustrated this in an email, inviting people to the app, was making motion content showing the different screens and displays of the UI, which was highly, highly effective. You can also look at things like carousels. So a carousel here allows you to see all the different Earth Day events that could be, or Earth Day pictures that could be used for your Earth Day events. This was actually Shutterstock email to get interaction. You can just click through the carousel and see everything is available, and then you find one you like, and now I can just click on it. Now I'm automatically taken to Shutterstock to download and buy that piece of material or get a subscription or whatever. And another one that was really, really cool that I loved is the BBC. They have a show called Dynasties. And within their email, they allow you to hover over and click on the different animals and give you a description of the different animals that are covered inside of their Dynasties programming. So now you can develop interest before you ever go to the site to get whatever offers in the back end of the site, or to go find the show on BBC and watch it on demand. So all of these things are inherently not boring. They're driving interest. It's not just words on a screen or just pictures. It's motion, it's interactivity, it's relevance, and it's offering a taste of what you get if you do actually interact. And these things are driving right now, just by doing immersive emails, you're driving a 30% click-through rate increase and a 20% conversion rate increase. So it'd be really great. Just think about how you can use that in your industries. So one of the things that we did with Liberty Mutual to make it interesting is we created a walkthrough, helping to sign up the user for insurance using the emu as the kind of the conversation. You were having a conversation with the emu, which was kind of fun. But at each stage, the Lemu's asking you questions, and then it's giving answers back to help guide you from where you started to where you go. So instead of just Lemu being there saying, "Hey, buy insurance from us, we're cheaper, and you can configure it," we created a conversation that's pretty freaking fun. I love it. I guess the message here is just don't be boring. If you're boring, you're going to get lower interaction if you're not boring. And if you're not boring and maybe your segmentation isn't great or your real-time personalization isn't great, you're still going to get higher interaction because you weren't boring. All right, so what's the next issue? The last one here we're going to go over is we're not connected to data. And I know a lot of you have this challenge. We have a ton of clients that come to us and they say, I want to do personalization. Or I want to be able to segment even, but I don't have the data. I don't have a capability to create dynamic segmentation, meaning I don't have a CDP or something like it, or I don't have access to the data streams coming from all of my channel sources to give me that data to help me identify those moments. Those are all things we deal with, but the data I want to talk to you about today is data as content. So one of the strongest things you have to drive interaction because of its relevance is customer, prospect, client related data. Especially if you look in software, financial services, healthcare, those kinds of things. You have at healthcare, be careful with HIPAA, obviously, but you have a ton of information you can use to gain interactivity. In this case, for a financial services organization, we use the data that they have on them to create moments, opportunities to engage by showing them things like targeted content and recommendations. We know they like to visit, let's say, the Caribbean, and there's a deal coming up in one of the Caribbean islands. We can show it here. Or we can do subject line testing in inboxes with segmentation, or trackers and checklists and status bars. So it's more that motion, but using their data to power that motion so that now it's interactive. Oh, I want to see how many points I've earned so far. I want to see how many trips I've taken. I want to see how much money I've saved, but make it interactive. Or you can have trip reminders. You can make it so it's functional as well as for marketing, right? Practical. Hey, you've got a trip coming up in 2 days. Make sure you filled out this form for customs. There's an infinite number of things you can do with data, but one of the things it does really well is provide immediate, relevant information for you to personalize, which drives open rate and conversion. All right, so let's talk about a case study here about how we've used marketing technology not only to drive open rate conversion, but also to drive business value. So CSL Plasma, I don't know if you all are familiar with who they are, but CSL Plasma has a really interesting model. They have to get plasma from you and I, from their donors. They have to get these donors to come into their stores to sit down to have their blood and plasma drawn. And they have to maintain tolerances, meaning supply tolerances, within a very small boundary. Plasma must be refrigerated so that it can be used to make life-saving medicines later on, or else it spoils, right? So we have this supply challenge where if I have an undersupply, there's an opportunity cost. And if I have an oversupply, I have to throw some of this plasma away because I can't keep it cool because I don't have enough refrigeration space. So their profitability comes down to how do I keep my supply within a given range of smaller given range to increase total revenue and increase margin. So let's take this example real quick of the Minneapolis location 414. They have a system right now that tracks how much has been acquired, how much plasma has been acquired at each location. Right now, on 3/21/25, they achieved 42% of their monthly plasma collection goal. So 9-10 days left in the month, they're not even halfway there. So they're tracking to be about 25% behind collection. So how can marketing, how can sales, how can personalized emails really help this? Well, we need to start a supply capture campaign. And that supply capture campaign, we can use the data from the client plus some form of interactivity to help drive supply to the location. So we can target regular donors who frequent that center. We can target lapsed donors with enhanced offers. We can geofence within 414, within X miles of Center 414. And then we can update our campaign messaging. Don't forget, or we've missed you, or here's an incentive to come in, or you name it, plus some historical reference to them donating before, and they've been a great donor. We know you've donated at the center. Make it very, very personal, and then offer an incentive. So this is a supply capture campaign in this case. There's also the case where you don't need any more supply, but you've got competitors in the marketplace and you want to keep this donor warm to make sure they still come back to you next month, even though you don't need them this month. So you can activate the same form of campaign. This will be a hold campaign for all donors of 414 or within X miles of 414. And then you just scale back the frequency of sends and shut down further touches other than to keep warm. So thank you for your continued support. Here's a $10 coupon to get you to come in next month. Sorry, we couldn't take you this month. So this is more like keep demand available for the following month, stop our competitors from moving in on our supply. So how do you create this? I mean, there's so many signals out there. How do you make something like this real so you can actually drive real business value? In this case, would be in the millions and millions of dollars. Well, the first is you need some kind of logic, right? So the logic here is essentially saying, I've got data coming from my plasma center on the left side. The decision engine decides, am I on track? Am I behind schedule, or am I ahead of schedule? And then it sends a signal into Salesforce to activate a campaign for a given segment. That part's not incredibly difficult in ideation, but it's very challenging to set up effectively when you're creating an intermediate layer between your current operational system and your marketing technology stack. So one of the ways that we operationalize that is by creating a library of content modules and campaigns that can be personalized based on which one of the hold or supply demand, supply hold, etc., and the people that we're talking to and the location, their preferences, time of day they like to come in, you name it, right? All those things, we can create these content modules and use those content modules within personalized emails within the campaign that supports supply acquisition, supply hold, etc. So this is what we designed for them. In this case, it was using Salesforce Marketing Cloud. But the result with that logic engine, decision logic engine, and with what we created with the dynamic content engine was a dynamic real-time digital marketing supply optimization program. So there was a lot of words to say that we took marketing capabilities that utilize Salesforce and all the data signals, but we use them to actually drive real business value at the back end. Yes, marketing drives business value in terms of getting marketing qualified leads, driving sales, et cetera. But we're talking about driving operational capabilities. I think a lot of us forget that marketing has the capability to do that as well. So what does the back end look like for something like that? So this is really interesting. So we took the donor management system. We took the data, fed it into our decision management system, which was in AWS SageMaker is where we built that out. By the way, along the bottom is all the tools we used here to help do this, including Segment and Salesforce and Amazon SageMaker. We fed it into a data warehouse. From there, it was picked up by the marketing automation platform as essentially as flags on the records. From there, it was sent to the donor audience. The communications were sent to the donor audience. The donor audience would then either visit the donation center or not visit the donation center, and the results of that would get fed back into the donor management system so we could do it all again. This process can apply to almost any process out there you want that has an operational or external operational data source where you're required to be able to make some decisions to enable the decision engine. There's also ways to do this, by the way. Didn't work for this client, but there's also ways to do that inside of the platform. So if you think about Salesforce and Einstein, or some of the capabilities in Adobe, or some of the capabilities in Braze, some of this decisioning is now capable inside of those platforms. So you can go either direction, but it's really important to know that you can create decision engines yourself more than likely with the platforms that you use today. So let's talk about some of the underlying strategies that we use to make things like this happen. So we call it AI as OS. This is kind of the way that we view the world going forward. So think about today, the fact that everything that we do is inside of an application. When I open up my phone, I open an app, I do things within inside of that UI because I need an interface for me to interact with the data. Going forward, AI is making it so I don't necessarily have to interact with the data, especially when we start talking about AI agents. Instead, we're getting to the point where I'm not searching for answers. I'm instructing AI to do something for me, to complete some task. Right now, it's pretty simple. The task I'm asking AI to complete is to give me an answer instead of giving me a list of search results, right? But in the future, it could be, I want you to plan a date for my wife and I on Friday night next week. So if we use that as the example, the AI would go and look at yours and your wife's schedules to make sure when you were available. They would look at your bank account to make sure you have money and how much you have to go and spend against this. It would go find reservations at places that it knows you like to eat at, find the reservations that would work. It would find a movie genre that it knows you two both like and schedule that movie. And then it would send you both the scheduling for all of that, right? That's an agent. That's agentic AI, and that's the way that everything's going. So we're not there today, right? But we know we're going to be there in the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to have something like that. Well, our marketing technology, our marketing stack, our marketing operations are not immune from all of that. So how do we create a capability to use agentic capability as it progresses, use AI as it progresses, without blowing up our entire stack and trying to start over, which is just not a fiscal reality for almost any company out there right now. Well, the way that we do that is we recommend a transitional stack with this theory of AI as OS, where we have all of your technology, all of your customer contact technology outside of this half moon, right? So you have your map and your CMS and you have your sources. And in between that is this integration layer where you use APIs for AI essentially to talk to each of your data sources, to talk to each of your channels. So that integration pulls the data into your AI capabilities below the stack. It's AI below the stack. And from there, you can do things like improve churn, right? Or improve email interaction by creating personalization. But the trick is you're improving across processes instead of improving in verticals, which is a piece of SaaS. We're calling this a transitional stack because it's headed towards AI capability, but not quite there yet because that's just the state of the world. So enough about that. We'll have another webinar about that later on. We wanted to tell you how we enabled some of these journeys. Let's talk about the playbook to actually getting you on the road to creating effective email and realizing those 36 to 1, 44 to 1 returns. So the playbook, once again, and I know that there's mostly marketers on this phone on this call, and you're going to realize and agree with me that the playbook is easy. The execution is really hard, especially when you talk about working with IT and brand and compliance and just all the different groups. This is not always easy. Roadmap is, however. The first thing you got to do is figure out where these signals are coming from, capture those signals that allow you to define those moments, so you can get that increased interaction. Then you need to build interactive modules to support those moments. So you're layering all of these improvements like a cake, and at the end you just have something super tasty, right? So real-time intent and moments drives interaction. Interactive modules drives interaction, along with making sure that they're interesting. Automate the feedback loops, including moment scoring, so that you can know when there's another moment that you need to go back to for another opportunity to interact. And then you can use AI or humans, however you want to do it, to advance that automation, right? So to advance and optimize that automation. To say, okay, last time I communicated with this customer with these signals, this worked, and this didn't work. Let's tweak that slightly to give them maybe a dog instead of a cat image, because they ended up having dogs and not cats. So looks easy, harder than it looks, but that's really the basic playbook, right? Now, just since you all came here, and thank you for sitting through this with me, I truly appreciate it. We are offering an email vitality snapshot. It's for everyone. If you attended this, you get it for free. There's no commitment whatsoever. This is truly like we're going to add value up front. What is it? It's essentially a collaborative effort between you and our strategists, where we will look at your email deliverability. You're going to go and pull a free report, deliverability report, and we're going to help you find out where your challenge areas are and how to fix them. That'll be a 1-hour guided event with one of our strategists. And then we'll also look at 3 emails. So you send us 3 emails from 3 different campaigns. We'll look at all 3 emails and give you recommendations on how you can improve them. That's totally free, and all you have to do is look at the follow-up email and click the register button when it comes to you, and we'll get something set up with our strategists. Now, if you've been through all of this and you're like, I want the whole kit and caboodle, I want the whole enchilada, I want 44-to-1 today, then we're more than happy to work with you. We have a service offering called Shift Ignite Email, where we help do the 360 channel audit. We do an opportunity heat map, which is essentially where the gaps and opportunities exist. We'll create a pilot sprint for you, so you can prove the value of this. We'll map out the scale up phase, and we can do quarterly Ignite reviews to make sure you're getting that 36 to 44-to-1 value. So typical results for us, we see a 5 to 10% jump in inbox placement and a 4 to 8% increase in unique open rates, which is pretty great. We also see a 12 to 20% lift in click to open rates, all of this resulting in enhanced revenue and getting you guys that ROI. So just to add on to the value that we're trying to provide to you all, because you gave us an hour of your day, and we want to give you something valuable for that hour of your day. We've also created a 45-page email best practices and industry trends doc. So you can scan this right now with your phone, the QR code, download this, and it's got a lot of what I just said in 40 minutes in much more detail. I'm going to give you a lot more opportunity to actually execute this on your own if you'd like to. So that being said, thank you. If you want to connect with me or Shift, you can do so via this QR code here, which will take you to a contact form. Fill that out. We'll be back in contact with you very shortly, and we'll get something scheduled so we can talk. That being said, let's talk about it. Any questions that you all have? Anything that you'd like to ask before we wrap up? You can do so in the chat, and we'd be happy to answer them. You're welcome, Emily. Absolutely. Any questions out there? Oh, looks like we have a couple of folks typing. Oh, I'm glad it was informative. Thanks, Candace. We still have folks typing. I promise I'm not sitting here being quiet on purpose. Can I restate what is meant by render under predictive personalization? Yes, absolutely I can. So, okay, so render is simply how do I get the real-time personalized information to display within an email? There's a couple ways to do it. One is with a tool called, oh goodness gracious, Movable Ink. There we go. It's there. Movable Ink. Some of you've probably heard of it. If you haven't, definitely go look it up. Movable Ink has a platform where you can take in data and programmatically update it at the time the email's opened. You're welcome, Fernanda. So let's say that I have a rewards program and I sent an email and Joe didn't open it for 2 days, but Joe made a purchase yesterday, right? Joe goes to open that email after his purchase, and when he opens it up, instead of seeing his points total from the day before, he sees the points total that reflects the last purchase, because Movable Ink allows you to automatically update the data from a data set, so it's always relevant, it's always correct. You can also do this manually. You can develop these integrations inside and outside of your platforms to actually render this data inside of the email. Does that answer your question, Joel? Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Oh, looks like we've got a couple more. Some folks are typing. Can I share the QR code for the guide? Yeah, absolutely. Just 1 second. Happy to. There you go. That should be on the screen for you. Anyone else? All right, we'll make sure you get a copy of this presentation for anyone that missed any of the QR codes, so you can scan and either download the best practices or set up some time to speak to us. Otherwise, it's been wonderful talking to you all. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we're going to have more Email Isn't Dead content coming. Oh, just a second. We've got more questions. Go ahead, Landon. Okay, you're welcome, Landon. It was great talking to you all. We're going to go ahead and close now. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon.